Dan Willis here, and we're talking about medical bills on your credit report and specifically how to pay off medical collections. Now look, paying off this debt can really help your odds of removing it from your credit report. And as we shared here in an earlier video, removing this item and cleaning up your credit report and getting rid of those dings, those blemishes, and those negative items is an effective way to get a better credit score. Nevertheless, let us go through these steps. The very first step for all consumers dealing with any debt collector is to first request debt validation. This is your right as a consumer granted under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA. And essentially what we're saying when we request validation on our debt, on our alleged debt, we're saying, hey, debt collector, you first prove this is actually my debt. Show me the details, who the original creditor was, the dates of account activity, all the details about the debt, because you just popped up one day out of the woodwork demanding that we pay you. So you do your part and you first prove that. It's most effective to make this validation request in writing and send it using certified mail with return receipt requested. That way you'll have evidence that you made your request and that they received it. You see, they're required to respond by providing you with the paperwork, the documents, and the evidence that does prove this is your debt. If they fail to validate your debt for any reason, even if they just don't have their paperwork in order, then in accordance to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, that debt is legally forgiven, as in you're no longer legally responsible for repayment. Further, they're supposed to contact all three of the credit bureaus to have them remove that collection from your credit report because it's messing up your credit score. If you'd like some help, you can get a free credit consultation by calling toll-free 1-877-418-7596. Now, the second item here is the statute of limitations, and this is a state law and it does vary, so for full details, investigate your local legislation. This law, the state law, says exactly how long you're legally responsible for repayment, and contrary to popular belief, it ain't forever. Generally, it's about 7 years from that last date of account activity. If your account is validated, we need to review the paperwork and the documents that they send us. And what we're looking for is your last date of account activity, because that time window starts with your last date of account activity. Once this time window runs out and expires, then that debt is legally forgiven. And this applies to medical debt for certainty. It also applies to credit cards, charge-off accounts, retail accounts, telecommunications, utilities, most everything. The few exceptions to the statute of limitations are defaulted federal student loans and federal income tax. And warning, this is big. Debt collectors, and especially late stage and junk debt collectors, are notorious for re-aging consumer accounts, and for obvious reasons, so they can continue to attempt to collect payment, but they are notorious for this. The industry is fined every year for doing this because it's often done illegally. If you'd like some help, you can get a free credit consultation by calling toll-free 1-877-418-7596. Now, the third step here is to negotiate a settlement agreement directly with this debt collector. And you should only enter into negotiations after your account has been validated and you've checked out the statute of limitations, that legal time window. And there's two parts to your settlement agreement, and it's best to get this in writing. The first part is to always settle your debt for much less than the total balance. Often you'll be able to negotiate and settle for as little as 15% up to about 45% of your total balance. For example, with a $1,000 debt, you may be able to settle that for just $250 or 25%. This is standard operating procedure, and virtually every debt collector will be thrilled to accept a settlement for less. The second part of your agreement is mission critical. In exchange for our payment, we must get this debt collector to agree that they'll stop reporting our account information to all three of the credit bureaus. If we overlook this, the only thing that's going to happen after we make payment is a change in the status of that item on our credit report. It's going to go from an unpaid collection to a paid collection. And as we shared here in an earlier video, a paid collection is still a negative, damaging, derogatory item that Anthony Sprague, a spokesman for FICO, says and has the potential of dragging your score down by as much as 100 points, which is obviously way too much. And we need to take a moment and dispel this popular internet myth idea of a pay for delete. If you're unfamiliar, this is where you first demand that debt collector first delete the item from your credit report, and then you'll make payment. And you're welcome to try this all day long. It sounds wonderful. Unfortunately, it's wishful thinking. It's never going to happen. It sounds about as great as Jolly St. Nick visiting every house on Christmas Eve. And that's about as far as it's going to go. So don't hold your breath if you try that. Instead, the much more pragmatic and effective approach, and what they will agree to, is actually stop reporting your account information in exchange for your payment. And that's going to be crucial here in this next video, where we talk about how to actually remove this medical bill from your credit report by using the credit bureau dispute process. Because when the credit bureaus get your dispute and they actually investigate the item, they're going to contact that debt collector and they're going to ask them to verify your account. As per your settlement agreement, they're not going to verify your account when the credit bureaus investigate, and then as a result, in compliance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this means the credit bureaus must remove this item from your credit report. That's how to get this medical bill off your credit report, and we'll be sharing that here in detail coming up. So of course, subscribe and join our congregation, and if you'd like some help, you can get a free credit consultation by calling toll-free 1-877-418-7596. Again, that's for a free credit consultation, and the toll-free phone number is 1-877-418-7596. This is Dan Willis. We're going to include a link in the description below over to an article at our website for the full story. We also have a free report available there, the 7 proven ways to boost your credit score. And of course, subscribe and join our congregation, because we're talking in detail here coming up about that credit bureau dispute process and removing this medical bill from your credit report. So of course, subscribe and join our congregation. Have a wonderful day, and looking forward to talking to you again here soon.